Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Film Family. Thank you again for joining us. Today, we're going to be talking about the new Fast and Furious installment, the Hobbs and Shaw. So, what did you guys think about it? First off, I love the Fast and Furious movie, so I was excited.
You've seen everyone?
I've seen everyone. Okay. Tokyo Drift is the only one that dropped the ball, in my opinion. I am a diehard fan because I love cars. And
that seems right up your alley.
You know what I mean? Like, it's action. It's kind of funny. BG has a different opinion, so you want to...
Yeah, I don't really like Fast and Furious. I think the fifth one was a pretty good movie, and the sixth one was all right. Seventh and eighth one I thought were pretty bad, and then the ones before that I haven't really seen. So it's not like I want to actively hate on it or anything. It's not really the type of movies for me. They're for me just like discount Marvel movies. That's kind of what they become. They're all action movies now with quips like Marvel, but with significantly less good writing and characters. So that's pretty much how it feels to me.
Yeah, I think starting from the beginning and watching them from the beginning, I think you kind of learn to like the characters and you know what you're in for. It's kind of like, and don't kill me on this, BG, because I know you love James Bond and I do too, but it's kind of like the Bond universe where you kind of accept the good ones and the bad ones, and you know what to expect in the Bond movie. It's the same thing with Fast and Furious. It's not intellectual. You're just going to see a lot of things get blown up and a lot of action and cars.
I think that's pretty disrespectful to James Bond.
Have intellectual you seen some movies. Of the? I recently watched some.
All right,
James
this
Bond
isn't what we're
movies,
talking about right now.
I was a little disappointed.
All right, yeah, but like.
No, I'm just saying you know what to expect.
Yeah, no.
You go in and that's it.
I appreciate that, like, about Fast and Furious. I understand they're not trying to, do anything that, is besides what their main goal is, which is just to entertain people. Yeah.
They're not trying to win any Oscars here.
Yeah, I mean, like, they're, Universal's biggest franchise, arguably, right now. And, they have their ride and everything. So it's very much, a main attraction kind of movie. And it's not there to, be intellectual or, trying to, like you said, win any Oscars. But they've slowly, for me, just become less and less quality. And by now, they're basically just kids' movies because they're not adult enough in their action to entertain people above, like, 14. And they're not, like, kiddie enough to be, like, for young kids to watch. So they're just kind of in this awkward place. And it's not a very good place to me. So, yeah. And this movie's no exception.
Did you care about the characters? Like, do you know Hobbs and Shaw?
It's one of those things where it's, like, it's probably, like, my least favorite thing in a movie is when, like, there's a family dynamic set up or, like, the daughter or son of somebody or whatever, and, like, they try to make you care, and it's, like, you don't care, and, like, it seems like they want, like, it obviously means, like, they wanted you to, but if they're not going to put in the effort to make it realistic enough or just entertaining enough or, sensible enough, then, like, why should you care about Dwayne Johnson's daughter? Or, like, it's the same problem I had with Godzilla. There's a lot of those things about those family dynamics, but, like, I didn't care about any of them because they didn't feel like real people, and I have no relation to any of those people.
I agree about that, and I was actually thinking this during the movie. Like you said, you kind of grow up with the characters like Vin Diesel and Paul Walker, and you get to really appreciate them. Hobbs came in the fifth one, and then he kind of continued through, but he was always a supporting role, and you never got to see any backstory for him. And I feel that if he's going to get his own movie, there should have been some kind of backstory before that. And
they had a daughter in, like, the seventh one.
Yeah, but we didn't see much about that. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And it's in this one, I thought they had a great opportunity to do it. And while I was actually having this thought, they took him back to his hometown in Samoa. But I just felt like it wasn't enough because it was too late into the movie for me. And you never really
Well, they try to set that up when they were at the diner earlier. She sees a picture in his wall, and she's like, you have a brother? He's like, oh, yeah, I have a brother, and I don't, like, talk about that. And it was setting you up later to know that he had the rivalry, and then they, like, become family and forgive each other. And it's not for me that, like, what you said, like, that they didn't do it. It's just that it wasn't good because they did do it, but it just wasn't convincing enough. Or it wasn't well written enough, like, where they're just in the middle of this battle, and he's just like, I forgive you. He's like, yeah, me too. Like, I feel like if they hated each other so much for, like, 25 years, I don't know, it's just, like, not convincing for me. Like I said, like, it reminds me, the Fast and Furious to me are a lot like Marvel movies now, but instead of, people like Tony Stark, you get people like, Hobbs, who's just, not a very great character, in my opinion. But, I think we should talk about the action in this movie, which is, kind of the main point, which I also didn't really like that much. And I don't want to sound like a hater or anything, but I thought the action could have been way better. I think the one good thing is that they had great set pieces, like meaning that they chose great locations and, but it just wasn't executed very well. A lot of the action in this movie looks very digital. There's like a digital polish. It doesn't seem like they shot on location anywhere, and that was a little frustrating. Because if you have the budget, you should just go to a location to shoot. Especially, it was like pretty bad. Like when they were at the end with the helicopter and on the truck with the chain. Like it just looked like there was nothing actually in the background. Or when they went to the military base, you could just see kind of like that everything was computer generated in the background, and it was a little glaring. But also like I said, like the action was just. It seems like just a little too toned down for me.
Interesting.
Like it hasn't earned being. It's not PG and it's not R, and it's not really PG-13 enough for me. So
I didn't push the PG-13.
I just think it's a little awkward. It's not
think?
very well choreographed.
I agree. I actually wasn't blown away by the action. I feel some of the Fast and Furiouses, being car movies, have much more action than this stuff, and they've really gone away from the car movies. Let's be honest. They are like
action franchise now,
pretty much superheroes. But I wasn't mad about it. As far as like I had higher expectations for the film than it's set, just because I like the movies, and I wasn't expecting it to be a good movie.
Yeah.
I was just expecting myself to enjoy it more, and I was pretty happy with it. But it didn't hit. Sorry, it just didn't hit where like the points that I wanted it to.
Okay, interesting. What do you?
What about you?
It's what I thought it was. That's why I didn't comment. It's. I went in having low expectations only because I really felt that the trailer showed everything already. Almost like I felt like had seen the whole movie before because of the trailer. They showed way too much.
What about you? Expectations did it underperform your
I
expectations?
had very low, and they actually went down. And I don't want to again. Like it sounds like I'm kind of hating on this movie, but it just wasn't that good to me. And like the action going back to it is like. I'm never somebody who likes to just poke holes or plot holes in movies. And like, I'm not super big on like that's not realistic. But when your movie is supposed to take place in the real world, it's not living in like a different version of our world. When you do things like having a man who can, at most bench like 300 pounds, literally stop a helicopter, like that to me is just going overboard. Or when you have things like them, when they're at the
he
base.
Picked up an engine in one of the Fast and Furious.
It's always been unrealistic, like, or not always, but with the new action movies, it's been like very unrealistic, and for me, it's kind of annoying. And at this point, I've grown not to get mad at it, but I'm always gonna point it out because they're always just gonna put unrealistic things in the movies. And the one other thing is another key to action sequences is when you have an action sequence, you set up everything that you're going to use in that action sequence before you actually get into the sequence, and that was especially obvious that they didn't do that in the military sequence when they like parachuted down. They brought a drone out of like nowhere, and like when they were driving out of the car, the choreography just kind of like when they escaped out the chains, but there was never anything that broke them out the chains.
Yeah,
they literally broke through chains like Superman.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Exactly.
how did you break
Well,
through
no,
those
you didn't
metal
hear what he
chains?
said. The Rock said he's going to break the chains, but Jason Statham said that he's going to slip out the chains.
All right, well, regardless,
And he slipped out the
whatever
chains.
they do, it's not humanly possible to slip or break through chains. Unless, so for me, that was kind of stupid, and it was a little annoying. That was probably the worst action sequence to me. But none of them were particularly good, except maybe like the opening couple fist fights were pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you guys think about the Black Superman?
I love Idris Elba personally. I forgot there's a show that he does on BBC. That's a little bit of it was on Netflix and may still be there, and it's him playing a detective. So I personally really like Idris Elba, and I actually thought he did pretty good in this.
He was the best part of the movie.
I
Probably.
agree, but every time he finished a scene, it's him out of breath.
All right, well,
Like that every time.
yeah, well, I don't know about that, but I just know that he, he's not in as much of the movie as I thought he would be. Not that he's not in a lot, but I thought he just delivered his lines a little better than everybody else. The thing is like, no offense to The Rock or Jay Statham, but they've never been about their acting on the way. It's about their action skills, and I've always actually liked those people because I appreciate when an actor knows what their specialty is. And in this movie, like they're both pretty charismatic. I actually don't think the problems in this movie lie in the acting. I think the actors are all really good. Vanessa Kirby as Shaw's sister, she actually did a really good job too. But the script in this movie is it's really bad. Like the dialogue just doesn't sound very good, and the jokes, I don't know if I laughed. I maybe laughed one time in this movie, and that's not an exaggeration.
I wasn't expecting Kevin Hart to be in this. Were you?
No, I mean nobody was. It was like a little cameo.
That was a nice night.
Yeah, that was like pretty unexpected. Same thing with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the thing,
I really like Ryan Reynolds actually. It's very Deadpool-y in my, but also that's just the character
who Ryan Reynolds kind of is.
You know?
Yeah. No, I mean it's just like I see it again. Like I said, kind of compared to Marvel, that quick-witted, constant quippy style. I just don't know if that works. If the jokes aren't good enough, or if the actors can't deliver. And there are Marvel movies that do that, but poorly too. One of them being Captain Marvel, and you can see that kind of more apparent in this movie that they're just trying to put as many jokes out as possible, but it's kind of quantity over quality. Just you should know your batting average, and they had a pretty low batting average.
Interesting.
But yeah, I just think overall the comedy of this movie, it was all right sometimes, but I just think the script didn't give very good jokes.
Last, I guess, episode we were talking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and other Quentin Tarantino movies, but we talked about the dynamics between the main leads, Leo, and we're not going to compare them. You can't, obviously, very different fields. But what did you think about the?
Yeah, like I said, the cast did a pretty good job. It's weird though that Shaw in the previous movie was a legit villain. He killed Han.
Yeah.
And in this movie, he's kind of let him off scot free.
But they also made it seem like he wasn't the bad guy the whole time, and I was trying to figure it out too, because he was a bad guy for a minute.
It was like one of those things where they saw it was kind of like Loki and Marvel, where they saw how appealing a character was, so they took away a little more of their dark side in order to just let the character be entertaining, so the audience couldn't root for them more instead of feeling guilty about a character who's done bad things. But the thing is I think, like I said, I think they had a good dynamic, and I thought they were both relatively funny. But it's just it would have been better if they just had better lines to work with. But I think Jason Statham, he was really good in this movie, and I I just like his style in general, in action movies, kind of carries himself well.
Yeah, I mean both of them in other movies are very charismatic, so we knew that they're going to bring that to the table. It's just, I agree with you, Bigi, about the script. I think that the story was not the greatest, but I kind of had low expectations for it.
I don't think the story's a big deal, but it's just they didn't put any effort. They were just there was a kind of interesting idea, humanity needs to evolve. They spent literally one scene explaining that and never talked about it. So,
but they've signed this movie for I think another 2 movie deals.
Oh, really?
I know that it's supposed to continue, and that may be the setup, and you're going to start seeing more of the bad guy kind of coming out.
You should never defend a movie though by saying they're setting up for something else. A movie should stand on its own.
I thought somebody did for John Wick on this show. Somebody did. It wasn't me because I wasn't happy with it.
Maybe I did. I said John Wick, and if it was me, I said the movie was good, but it's setting up for something better. That doesn't, not saying that's not a flawed movie. And if I did say that, but still, at the end of the day, what I'm saying is you shouldn't really fully defend a movie by doing that.
Yeah, of course.
Because also, I don't know if what you just said is true or not, but if it is, it's not like they're gonna try to go into an ethical discussion about human evolution in their next movie either. They're Fast and Furious; they know what they're here for, and they try to, add a pinch of, realism or maybe empathy to the villain. But, he was having fun, and I guess that kind of.
I didn't really feel like this was a Fast and Furious movie that much.
No, it wasn't.
Especially not until the end. There's almost no real car element to it.
Well, that's gone by now.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, because the Fast and Furious, when they do their stuff, they're still doing it in cars. They're driving them out of airplanes and stuff. Of course
it's not about the engines of the cars and stuff like that anymore.
Definitely not. But Vin Diesel is still in a Charger. In every movie, it doesn't matter. He's in an American muscle car.
Okay, but this isn't a Fast and Furious movie.
But it says Fast and Furious
presents exactly.
Hobbs and Shaw. You know what I mean? It wasn't that car element.
So if an artist on stage presented a different artist, is it that artist who presented his music? No, it's somebody he presents. Mm-hmm. So it's just whatever. It's kind of logistical. And the one last thing I would say is that this was really and again, not to be poke holes or anything, but this was really stupid. The fact that it was nighttime when the Samoan people were kind of ready for, I think his name is Brixton, Brixton's people coming, and then it 10 minutes
they worked
later,
all night, and then the day came.
But there was never they were in the fight during nighttime, and they it was daytime 2 seconds later, but there was never a time card or a visual a visual example to the audience that we were going to daytime, which is pretty amateur filmmaking. And then more than that, it just started getting cloudy. Yeah. And I get sometimes rain comes in and it gets cloudy all of a sudden, but it just happened. For me, it was just very lazy. And the whole thing again with him pulling down the helicopter, that was that's literally what Captain America did.
One of the things for me was
it is
that
exactly
I was so you're just Captain America now.
Yeah. Yes, he is. He's the Rock. In case you didn't know that. But one of the things for me was that all the cars linked up on chains. They all used nitrous at the last moment. I don't know why it took them so long.
That was pretty
But then
dumb.
at some point they said, "All right, disconnect,"
Yeah.
and then all the cars just disconnected.
Like
That's
Voltron.
not how that works.
Yeah.
You know what
I
I
don't
mean?
know. Yeah, like I said, the physics.
There's a
physics
leap
play
of
out.
faith in a lot of
Oh.
it.
And I really like how they always put The Rock in the biggest truck and they make him drive through walls. Because when he's escaping
Yeah.
the military base, instead of going straight like he could have to escape the base,
I saw
he
that.
goes right through the brick walls. And it looks good because he's
Yeah, by this point, it reminds me a little bit of like a Transformers movie where there's just so much destruction, and it even reminded me of a Transformers movie when he would fall off his bike and it would come back to him.
Yeah.
It reminded me of like a transform and then
that was pretty
re-transforming
dope,
back.
though.
That's 'cause
That
it
scene
had-
where
it
he
was
goes
cool.
underneath the semi.
Yeah, it was cool. That was
really
cool.
cool.
Yeah,
It's
but
just
they,
like
they had the
ignored
sound effect of a transformer.
Yeah,
it was like,
yeah.
I was like, that's
At
a
one
transformer
point, though,
sound.
A truck drove into a building, and as soon as the truck hit the building, it blew up, and I was like, "Is this a Michael Bay movie?"
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
I
There's
was
such
like,
a-
wow.
That's what they're doing now. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's just, it is what it is. Like, I don't, again, want to be like just insulting the movie or anything. That was, though, a super weird touch, that weather change and stuff. But yeah, overall, like, the cast is pretty good. Action scenes aren't as good as they should be, especially due to the fact that they're the whole thing that this movie's relying on. This movie knows that you don't care that much about the characters unless you're like a die-hard fan. So the movie has to entertain you with action, and unfortunately, I just wasn't that entertained by it.
Okay, before we rate it, let's talk about the sister real quick. How do you
I
guys think?
said she was really good. She was
Yeah.
one of my favorite parts of the movie. She had good chemistry with them, and she was
Yeah.
kind of like
She held her own,
She
yeah.
was kind of like the straight person of the. She was kind of they were making jokes and stuff. She was keeping it serious. Yeah, so she was kind of like the straight man in the group. Or the straight woman, but I thought she was a good character, and she added some good.
Balance it out.
Yeah, she balanced it
Yeah,
out.
she did well. She
I
did
mean,
very well.
I think she did. She was definitely on par with the acting, but we all can't say that the acting was amazing. I love Jason Statham as an action actor. I love The Rock as an action actor, but I think that Rock is or Mr. Johnson. I don't know what we should call him, but I'm going to call him The Rock.
Dwayne.
Dwayne. But The Rock I really like him as I think a family movie actor. So you can see he definitely tries to bring out some emotion when he's trying to talk to his daughter and stuff. And it's nowhere where, like a Leonardo DiCaprio or Brad Pitt. But I personally can respect his acting in the family.
Like
arena
I said,
of
I
film.
really like The Rock. He's not going for Oscars or anything. He just likes to entertain people. He seems like a really cool guy in real life.
Yeah.
And that's how I think that's my opinion of like all the acting, except for Idris Elba, because I think that he brought a little umph to it. He tried. He worked
tried.
with what he had.
He worked with the
and
script.
he brought. You know what I mean? He brought some umph to it.
Yeah, there's only so much you could do with that script. Sometimes this movie reminds me of like a bad Call of Duty game. That's what I could call it. Like characters you don't really care about, and just like since you don't care about those characters, here's some more guns and violence for
Yeah,
you.
just blow it up.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'd say overall. I mean, this is gonna sound pretty bad.
What did you think
No.
about the actress?
Oh, I thought she was great in terms of because she kind of was the glue. That, in terms of if you didn't care about her, then you didn't care about the movie. And I did generally. She held her own, and she definitely I could see the connection in there. I kind of liked the romance between her and the Rock or whatever.
And the
they're
brother-sister
playing.
relationship.
And the brother and sister thing, and so that was what kept me entertained. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna sound pretty negative, but I would probably give this movie like a 5.5 out of 10.
That's actually higher than I thought you would give it.
Yeah, I don't want to hate on this movie because this movie knows what it is. At least it's not trying to be like Godzilla, where it thinks it's better than it is. I respect a movie that knows what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I'd give it. This is a movie I think kids could probably watch. But then, like I said, kids won't really enjoy like cars and guns. Kids want something a little more colorful and with more flair.
Yeah.
But this movie is also not nearly adult enough to make somebody enjoy if they're like above like I said 14 or 15. So yeah, that's what I'd give it.
I'm gonna give it a 7 just because it was kind of average for me. Like it's not a bad movie and it's not really a good movie, but I have that personal affinity towards the Fast and Furious movies, so I will always watch them. Even Tokyo Drift, it's horrible, but I'll still watch it.
Yeah.
So I would give it a 7.
I was gonna say exactly that because a 7 for me feels like it's if you're a fan of those movies, you're gonna want to see this.
Yeah.
But if you're not, but you still like Rock or Statham, you're gonna want to see it. But I agree with the mishappens of it. So yeah, I would give it a 7 too, just a solid 7. And
You give a lot nicer reviews than I do, and even him like.
I
Usually give higher
you are a
scores.
movie purist, and I like to be entertained.
I used to be like that, but
I wasn't entertained. I wasn't.
I think the movie knows what it is. As you said, it's not going for the Oscar. I think that now when you know what kind of audience you're going for, like I really feel like it knows the audience it's going for.
I just think
so. I appreciate that.
With a lot of there's so many terrible blockbusters nowadays, and like I've said, I think the best blockbuster franchise is Marvel. Yeah. It just seems to me that this movie's trying to be a little more like Marvel with the mix of action and comedy, and unfortunately, this movie's a little more Captain Marvel than Infinity War, and that it's a little unfortunate for me to say.
Well, this might be a different review, but like, what were your thoughts on Pacific Rim?
What? All right.
I'm just saying, because like I really enjoed the movies. I'm not saying they're great movies, but they were entertaining for me to watch.
I just said this movie to entertain me, and it wasn't a good movie. So that's why I gave it a 5.5. Yeah, there we go.
It's a respectable rating. It's higher than I thought you were going to give it. And
it's
the fact that it was
not as bad as Godzilla.
Is actually pretty crazy.
It's not as bad as Godzilla.
Yeah, there was cool stuff in that one.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you thought of this movie.
And then we'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to leave a comment and a like down below.